Hey, Steve, thank you so much for joining me today on today's show.
You're very welcome, Danny. It's good to be with you again. We spent some time together in Hawaii a couple months ago, and good to be back.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So, most individuals who know you, they know you as, the prophecy guy, the pastor, the director of White Horse Media. But we're talking about something today that I believe is probably, equally as important as our spiritual health and prophecy as well, and that's our physical health. So, tell us, what is it we're talking about today, and share with us, how did you get started into this realm of health?
Yes, thank you. Well, as you mentioned, most people know me as the prophecy person. I wear many hats. I have my husband hat to my wife Kristen, my dad hat to my two children, my prophecy hat, my ministry hat, and I also have a health hat that I wear, which some people know about. I'm really into trying to do the best I can to take care of my body because I'm well aware of the fact that we're in a battle between good and evil. And if I'm sick or if I get some chronic disease, my days may be numbered. So I am keen to make sure as much as I can in this sinful world that my body is healthy. And one of the things that I've learned to do is to grow sprouts. I've got a jar here of pea sprouts. I don't know if you can see those, but
Yeah,
they
that's
are
awesome.
growing very nicely. It's been just a few days. And I got into sprouts and growing sprouts and microgreens. Technically, a sprout is the little seed, and a microgreen is something bigger. I've got a whole tray here of different things that I'm growing. You can maybe see these. These are
Hmm.
clover sprouts that are becoming microgreens. And microgreen means they get bigger and they've got leaves and they green up. So I do both, and I've been doing this since I was a teenager. Way back in my BC days, I call them, before Christ, before I became a believer in God. When I grew up in the Hollywood Hills, and as a teenager, I just became lost in the world of entertainment and rock and roll and the rock concerts and the discos and all that people were into in the 70s. And I was doing many things that were very destructive to my soul and my health. And somewhere during that period, there must have been something good inside my head that I began to think that because I'm doing all these bad things, I need to start doing some good things too to offset the bad things. So I started learning how to grow sprouts and microgreens and to make these big living salads with avocado and lemon and different seasonings, tomatoes. And when I started reading the Bible when I was 20 years old, and my whole life changed, and I gave up the bad habits, I kept the habit of growing sprouts and microgreens. And so I've been doing this, boy, I'm almost 65 now, and God has blessed me in so many ways. I've got a beautiful family, I've got a great job, and I'm so thankful that my health is holding out. I exercise, I drink a lot of water, I try to eat a good diet. But on top of that, especially in the winter months, outside in my area in North Idaho, when the winter hits, the snow comes down, you can't grow anything out there. So especially in the winter months, I'm growing sprouts and microgreens, all kinds, buckwheat, radish, lentil, alfalfa, and then I grow sunflower greens and buckwheat lettuce, and I just make these big, massive, mouth-watering salads just about every day, and they have really been a contributor, I'm convinced, to the health that I do have. And uh, Lord willing, if time goes on long enough, I'd like to live to 100.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think it's neat that you share that you've been doing this for decades. And I really believe that, earlier on in life, that's where we're really laying the foundation for the way in which we will be living our life. And when I was a kid, I mean, I was watching home video with my wife a while ago, and I was right there on the counter with my father, and we were planting wheatgrass sprouts. And he was teaching us about the importance of how to sprout and the benefits of sprouting, but also how easy it is to sprout. Now, for those who are into gardening and they're used to making a little hole in the dirt and placing in a seed and watering it and watching it grow. I guess that's more of the traditional way of seeing something grow. But what's unique about sprouting? I mean, you've showed us the seeds there that you're sprouting. What's the main difference between putting something in soil versus what you're doing right there?
Yeah, great question. Well, there's a lot of differences and parallels, similarities.
Yeah.
One of the big differences is that a lot of people just don't have a garden. They don't have land. They don't have they don't have a green thumb. They don't have time. They're too busy. They live very busy lives. Many people live in apartments. And so for people that just don't have the gardening knack and don't have a beautiful garden, and also for people that live in areas where it gets too cold in the winter months where they can't grow anything outside anyway, for these people, learning how to grow sprouts, which I would start with the sprouts and then advance to the microgreens. It's so easy.
Hmm.
And it's cheap. It doesn't cost very much, and it doesn't take hardly any time. And the nutrient benefits are just fabulous, off the charts. So, for instance, here's this jar of pea sprouts. So, what I did just a few days ago was I put the peas about this high, I put water in it about this high, and I let it sit for maybe 4 or 5 hours. And then I've got a little sprouting lid here, which where the water comes out. So I poured the water out, made sure it was nicely drained, and then I have these little stands that I got on Amazon, and which tilts the jar, and I put it in a little pan so the water will drip out, and then it just sits there. And so you get basically the idea is you give it a bath one time, which is where you soak the seeds, and then you give it a shower twice a day, which means you just rinse the seeds. So then after 12 hours or so, you take the jar, stick it under the sink, put the water in, pour the water out, stick it back on the stand, and you're done. And so it took me probably about, oh, maybe a minute to pour the seeds in there and fill the jar up. That was it. And then 4 or 5 hours later, it took about another minute to pour out the water and to put my jar on the stand. And then in the evening, I'll rinse it and pour out the water, and that takes maybe 30 seconds. And if you do this, and I've been doing this for, I think these are about 3 days old, maybe 4 days old. And then lo and behold, you've got this beautiful jar here full of pea sprouts, which are ready to go right into my salad. So, Danny, it's so easy. And you can do the same thing with lentils. I've got a jar of lentils here, and I started these. Today's a Friday when we're recording this. I started these on Wednesday. So, and you probably can't see these, but they're growing too. They've got plenty of little tails growing out of them, the roots. So these are lentil sprouts, and it took literally about 2 days to grow them. So
Really?
once you learn what to do, it's just so simple. And you've got non-GMO, you've got no pesticides, you don't have to weed, you don't have to take a lot of time, you don't have to cultivate the soil, you don't have to have a raised bed, you don't have to have land, you don't have to have a green thumb. You can do it all in your kitchen for pennies a day and seconds a day if you know what to do.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat because when I've talked with individuals, they say, well, okay, I know I should get into gardening. I know I should get into eating healthier, but it takes so much time, but it takes so much money as well. And I can't do it with my busy life. I can't do it with my family. I can't do it with my work. So I don't do it. I end up going to the grocery store and buying everything that I need. But I like how you say that it's so simple and so inexpensive to do as well. So when you're doing something like this, is it taking up a lot of space? You're doing this right in your kitchen? Um, you need a lot of sunlight. I mean, how much time is somebody having to put into this? I know you said it's really simple, it's cheap, and it doesn't take that much time. But kind of walk us through if somebody wanted to get started, where would they start?
Yeah, well, there's a whole lot of different options. And it really depends upon how far you want to take this,
Yeah.
how much room you want to use. But the simple way is to just start with a jar and some seeds and some water. That's it. And it's not expensive to buy a jar and get a sprouting lid and to buy the
Hmm.
seeds. And if you have water coming from your sink, you're ready to go. And so that's the simplest thing to do. And as far as space goes, all you have to do is just stick this on your counter, or you could stick it in a cabinet, or you could stick it under your sink. So I have a document that I send out to people sometimes, and it's called 10 top reasons to sprout. And then I have another document that talks about the common reasons why people don't sprout. And one of them is they don't have room, they don't have space, they don't have time, et cetera, et cetera. And then I just blow all those out of the water,
Hmm.
because you do have room in your house. If you've got a little place to put a jar on your sink, you've got room. And if you have enough money to buy a cell phone, and you've got enough money to pay your bills, or at least most of your bills, you don't need very much money to buy some seeds. You can go to a market and you can buy a bag of lentils for $1 or $2. So there's very simple ways to do this. And then, of course, if you want to get, a little more advanced, then you get these different trays like I've got here. Here's a thing of seeds of red cabbage microgreens. And I teach a whole course on this, and I teach people where to get their supplies, where to get their seeds. So one of my favorite methods is this sprout garden. It's called a sprout garden. It has different stacks, and you put, like I've got my clover on the top. I've got down below this, I've got my purple Rambo radish, and also red arrow radish. I don't know if I showed you that or not, but you can see
Hmm.
these are, I just started these a few days ago, so they're going to get quite a bit bigger. But anyway, it's a little trickier to do this, but it's not hard. You just have to learn what to do. And of course, I need a little more space, to put these trays than to use this jar. And then if you want to grow bigger trays, you can use trays. You can use a Taco Bell container for if you had a salad from Taco Bell or whatever. You can use these to grow microgreens. There's lots of different ways to do it, and you need a little more space depending upon the size of your tray. When I typically green them up like these here, when this batch of clover gets just a little bit bigger, I'll take the lid off. I'll put it on the counter in my kitchen, and the sunlight that comes from the window is all you need. You don't need grow lights, although it won't hurt to have them. I mean, if you go into major production, they'll probably help your plants grow quicker or better. But I
Hmm.
typically don't use them. I just use the light that's coming through my window. That's all you need. And so there's a lot of simple ways to do it. As I mentioned, I have a whole course on this where people can watch videos and they can see me doing this and they know exactly what to do. There's some tricks of the trade, but once you learn how to do it, you just do it and they grow and you eat them and your body benefits.
Yeah, that's really neat. You know, I think especially being that we're entering the beginning of the year here, so many individuals are starting new resolutions, whether it's going to the gym or it's eating healthier. And yeah, this is such an easy way where individuals can incorporate more nutrition and an inexpensive way as well. I mean, I think of how much money we will spend on different vitamins and multivitamins out there, and which those are good. But if we incorporate a more wide variety of our greens and we start sprouting as well, you think how nutritious it will be. I mean, for instance, I was looking at one study and it said just when you sprout, it was cowpeas. When you sprout cowpeas, it increases the vitamin C content by 4 to 38 times. I mean, that's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's all kinds of different vitamins that increase vitamin E, vitamin C. It's amazing, Danny, when people really study the physiology and the nutritional profile of what happens when a seed encounters water, it starts germinating and it starts to grow. It becomes a little nutrient factory that just starts multiplying nutrients. If you think about a baby, when a baby is first conceived inside of a woman's body, it's one cell. And then that cell divides, and then there's two cells, and it's like it duplicates itself. And then two become four, four become eight, etc. And that's how eventually it gets to be you. And so what's happening is God created the body to multiply itself. And that's what happens with a seed. It's the same thing. When a seed germinates and begins to grow, like for instance, these peas, I didn't add any nutrients. I didn't fertilize them. And look how big they got. They're just growing, getting bigger every day. And it's because the nutrients within the seed are multiplying. Let me grab one of these little guys here. So look at that.
Oh,
That's
look
a
at that. Yeah.
pea sprout. And the peas get bigger, they grow more and more, and it's because they're growing from the nutrients in themselves that are multiplying. And so if I were to take any kind of just a regular dry seed like wheat or barley or rye or peas, and if I were to uh, grind them up and use them as flour or something, I'd get a lot of nutrition from that. But
Hmm.
when you start sprouting the seeds, the nutrient profile just multiplies incredibly. So then when you eat those, you're getting a lot more nutrition. Plus, it's easier for the body to digest once those plants are growing. So there's all kinds of benefits, and people that have studied this, they realize that there's hardly anything you can do for your body, nutrient-wise, that's better for you than growing seeds and then eating those sprouts or eating them as microgreens. And I mean, you're giving your every cell in your body a nutrient boost, which is going to
That's
make your
true.
whole life improve, which, you know, who can find fault with that?
I know, right? Yeah, I love that. And I think of one of the sprouts my wife and I have sprouted in the past, and we like to sprout it. It has a strong taste to it, but broccoli sprouts. Um, and even in broccoli sprouts, what's so neat about that is sulforaphane. It's increased like 20 to 50 times. And we know that's so beneficial for helping to kill cancer. But
That's right.
Steve, one thing I hear in the health space right now is, hey, you don't want to eat your greens because of the anti-nutrients in your greens. And we know, there isn't a lot of truth to that. But for those who are concerned, what's pretty cool is when you sprout, it reduces the anti-nutrients.
Yeah, the anti-nutrients are God put them in a seed to prevent the seed from sprouting under circumstances that are not ideal.
Hmm.
But that to preserve the seed. But once the seed is put in the ground, or once it encounters water in a jar, and then it gets activated and germinates and begins to grow, then those anti-nutrients go out of the seed because now it's time for the seed to start growing. And they go into the water. And when you pour out the water, you pour out the anti-nutrients, which make seeds harder to digest when those anti-nutrients are there. But when they're not there, and you're growing your grains or your legumes or your different seeds, then it's much easier for your body to digest. So God's got it all figured out, and it's just amazing. What really happens when we learn how to do this. And Danny, I've done so much study on this. I have a little book called Sprout Power that Whitehorse Media sells. Here's one of the books I referenced in my course, Sprout Garden. I've done a lot of, this is all about growing little sprouts, but I've got a bigger one on microgreens. And this is just a sample of the books that I've read. I've read a lot of books. I've watched a lot of videos. I've learned how to do it. I love it. Some people say, how do they taste? I don't think I want to eat those, but really, it's a lot. Sprouts are a lot like tofu in a way that tofu is pretty bland, and when you add seasoning to it, that's what you taste. And
Hmm.
so there's all different kinds of seeds. The purple Rambo radish that I've got growing right here, these have a real kick to them. This is actually red arrow radish plus purple Rambo radish. They've got plenty of flavor if you like a little kick. And then peas are very mild. Lentils are mild. And there's arugula has definitely a kick. Sunflower seeds are growing up into the microgreens. Are my kids just really like those. They'll just eat them, just clip them and eat them. Put them in little bowls. Put a little nutritional yeast or a little sea salt. And so there's plenty of ways that you can make sprouts and microgreens taste
Yeah.
really good.
So these microgreens and these sprouts, are you eating them more like a garnish? I know you mentioned a salad. Do you cook with them? What are different ways you're incorporating sprouts into your diet?
Yeah, for me personally, it's salads. I'm
Okay.
a big salad guy. So when I've got things growing, like I might take when this gets a little bit bigger, I'll take maybe half of this and half of the other one, and I'll add some of the peas, and I'll make myself a nice big salad with avocado and lemon and maybe some veggies or any kind of different seasoning that I have. And so it's a big thing for me. Now, some people you can just put like alfalfa sprouts, clover sprouts. You can put them on a sandwich.
Hmm.
You can put them in wraps. Some people steam them. I prefer not to do that. I eat them raw. I've never had any health issues because of eating raw sprouts. There's been some concern in the past, like with alfalfa, E. coli, etc. But from everything that I've read, all of those issues were with commercial growers that had
Mm.
other issues. They had nothing to do with home growers. There's really no study or no case that I've ever read where a home grower of sprouts has had a problem. So I'm
Yeah.
not worried about it, but there's plenty of different ways to eat sprouts. Another thing that I personally like is my lentils. I often will put lentils because they're very mild. You hardly taste them. And I'll put them in my granola in the morning, lentil sprouts. I'll put them in my oatmeal. So that's what I do. And I just want all the live food that I can get
Yeah.
in different ways into my body.
I love that. And I like how you just mentioned lentil sprouts because I believe there's certainly a benefit for all of us who eat our sprouts, specifically the lentils. So I was looking at a study and it was saying that there's a small study and half of the participants ate 60 grams of lentil sprouts a day. And you just picked up lentil sprouts there. And what it showed was the individuals with type 2 diabetes received a 10% reduction level in hemoglobin A1C. Isn't that cool?
That's
So, individuals who have type 2 diabetes, consuming lentil sprouts certainly can benefit you. So, Steve, I know you mentioned you created a course that walks individuals through how to sprout, what they need to sprout. So, share with us a little bit as far as your course and how would it benefit somebody who wanted to join.
sure. Yeah, one of the reasons why people don't sprout is they don't know what to do.
Hmm.
It's very, it's daunting to them. They think, well, I don't know how to do this, so they never get started. So I've created it with a friend of mine. He did most of the production, and I did the growing and the demonstrating. He did the editing. So the course is the website is called sproutingwithsteve.com. Sproutingwithsteve.com. Steve is me, obviously. And so when they go on the website, they'll see a video right on the front where I'm talking about the benefits of sprouting and what sprouting will do for you. And then there's some testimonials and different things on the site. And then if people want to join the course, they click and they join. It's under $50, so it's not very expensive. And it's just a one-time charge because we've put a lot of time into this. And so then what happens is they get an email they put in their email address, and then they get an email with login information, a special website that we've created specifically for those who join the course. And then they go onto the website, and it's very simple. It's easy to navigate, it's beautifully designed. And then they have a startup tab where they can watch videos about getting started. Then they have a whole section on simple sprouting where they can learn, they can click and they can watch me growing these sprouts. And they watch me take the seeds, put them into the jar, put in the water, and then the next day you see them getting bigger. The next day you see them getting bigger. So it just walks you right through it, and it gives you tips and things you need to do. And then there's another section on microgreens, which is a little more advanced, and it goes into how to grow these microgreens and the benefits, and then it shows them what I'm doing. So I've got my trays and my seeds. And so they see all this. It's very simple, very easy. We have a support uh, website as well, or an address where people have questions, an email address. You can email me directly and ask me questions, Steve at sproutingwithsteve.com. That's it. And one lady, she did a little video for us. She joined the course, and her husband got all excited about growing these microgreens. And he had some major neurological issues, and
Really?
he was not getting help from physicians and medication. And once he started regularly using or eating these microgreens, I tell you, he felt a significant difference. And there's lots of studies that show, I mean, sprouts, they're low sugar content, they're high fiber, high nutrient, so they help with all kinds of different ailments. Now, it's not a one-stop cure-all. I mean,
Hmm.
we have to do other things too. We have to exercise, get off the couch, walk, drink water, but it is a fantastic addition to a healthy lifestyle, or at least people who are trying to become more healthy. And it just does wonders for the body. So
Yeah.
I'm a believer. We've got lots of people that have joined my course. They love it. Sproutingwithsteve.com. That's where people can go. One-stop place. And I also teach people where to get their supplies. There's a list that they can order from. They can click and they can say, I want this, 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 or this. And it's all right there. Simple, and I believe in it.
Yeah, I love that. And I will leave the link to your course in the show notes of the show here. And the books you mentioned, are those on your website as well?
Yes, I believe this is on the White Horse Media website. White Horse Media is my main hat that I wear when I teach about the Bible and Bible prophecy and those kind of things. So I don't think we have this. I'm not sure. Thinking about it, this might be a benefit to joining Sprouting with Steve is you get the PDF of this
Oh,
book.
great.
So it's been a while since I've checked that, but they can look at that. And if the book's only about $1, and I think we offer it as a perk for those that join the course.
Okay, that's awesome. I like how you've created this course because for those individuals who may feel easily overwhelmed or they're saying, hey, this information is great. I want to start incorporating sprouting, but it's a little too much for me. I need that step by step. I need to go through something at my own pace. I need clear direction on what to do and how to do it. I know so many individuals like to take notes and really get deep into what they're learning. So it sounds like this course is going to provide that for the individual.
It does, yes. That's why we created it because I love it. It's benefited me, and we wanted to make it available to other people. And it helps us with a small amount of income, which is not huge, but
Hmm.
I think it's well worth. You can go to the market, to Walmart or Safeway or whatever market is near you, grocery store, and you can buy a container of alfalfa sprouts for, let's say, $4 or $5. Now, if you were to get a packet of alfalfa, a smaller one than this is a bigger packet, but you can buy for just a couple of dollars, you can buy a packet of alfalfa seeds. And once you learn how to grow them, you can grow 10 times the amount of sprouts from that $4 or $5 container that you get at the grocery store. So you're saving money, and you don't have to worry about where did these come from, who
Hmm.
grew them, and is there anything in them? You never know. So
Yeah.
growing your own sprouts it's the way to go.
Yeah, I certainly believe that, these are some of the skills that we need to learn. But I like that you mentioned as far as the cost of buying sprouts in the store versus sprouting at home yourself. Because I really think about, and we'll talk more about this in another show, as far as the overall economy that we live in right now and just the expense of everything. I mean, just going to the grocery store and you look at the receipt at the end and you're like, I really spent that much on
Right.
produce and food to feed the family. But when you're able to grow something for pennies on the dollar and it's going to nourish yourself and your family as well, I don't want to go to the store again and buy sprouts when I know I could grow them at home for pennies on the dollar.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, I would really encourage anyone who's watching this or listening to this podcast to go to Steve's website, and I will leave the link in the show notes. Check out his course. I recommend you to enroll in his course to learn these techniques from somebody who's been sprouting and benefiting from sprouting for decades. So, Steve, I thank you so much for sharing this information with us today. Is there anything you would like to share with us as we close?
Yes, in my course, I have a motto, and the motto is "You can do it." So after I demonstrate this seed or that seed and how to grow this many times, I'll just look right at the camera and I'll say, "Look, you can do this too." So I just want to just leave that with those that are watching this, that this is very doable for you, and I can teach you how to do it if you'd like. I'm happy to do that, and it will help your health. It will help your mind. It will, anything that helps your health is going to make you feel better. It's going to save you money and go to the doctors. You're going to be more effective in your life. God willing, you'll live longer, and it's just win-win. So give it a try. Check it out. You can do it. So may God bless you, Danny. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share these things, and I hope those who watch this will start sprouting.
Thank you so much, Steve. And I really believe that taking care of our health is certainly biblical. 3 John 2 says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health." So God wants us to be healthy mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I believe through taking advantage of Steve's course and incorporating his teachings, it's going to benefit your health, but also your family's health as well. So, Steve, thank you so much for coming on today. God bless you in the ministry and the work that you are doing in sharing this message of good health to the world. See you next time.
You're welcome, Danny. Thank you for having me.